Activate.
All right, everybody, welcome to this Pink Cloud. We are a show that is about multiple pathways to recovery, mental health, all that good stuff. I am DJ Kelly Reverb. Yay. You already had it. Oh, you've got it down there.
I've got it in my lap,
Nice.
so you can't touch it.
There
No,
we
it's
go.
just because it's charging.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I don't want to touch anything in your lap, dude.
Well, you never allowed to.
It's my
You gotta
personal
pay me
space.
for that.
Yeah, right. Anyway, everybody give it up for, what is your name this episode?
Oh, no. I didn't change it.
Sade.
No, it's Croissant LeMans.
There you go.
Yeah.
Give it up for Croissant LeMans,
Croissant
everybody.
LeMans,
Yeah.
DJ producer and Madonna and Tom Thumb #1 fan.
There
That's
we
what
go.
It says
I
in my
like
name
it.
tag.
I like
That's
it.
pretty cool.
Well, thanks for coming in today, bud. And then excited to have this young man on the show. It's not often that we have a judge in
I
here.
appreciate that.
To be honest, but it's Judge John Roach, and he is the founder of the North Texas Veterans Court, and we will get into that later. But welcome to the show.
I appreciate you having me very much.
Yeah, so I guess we were discussing. You are a mutual friend of my sister's.
I am.
Yeah,
I sure am.
And then Chad and his mom and where he recovered was all in that area where you are actually a judge as well. So if Chad comes back through.
Okay, I'll be
this
sure.
is where you
act
know
like
him
I never
from.
met him before.
Yeah, right. Exactly. But yeah, excited to have you on the show.
I appreciate that.
So let's hear a little bit about the backstory and then about what you're doing with the Veterans Court.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, I've been a judge, and I'm an elected judge in Collin County, and have for the last 18 years.
Right.
And so I do criminal cases, felony criminal cases. I do CPS cases, family law cases, and civil cases. And so I'm pretty busy.
Right.
But about 12 years ago, 13 years ago, I started, and I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I should probably say that too. So I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I appreciate that very much. And that's relevant because I started to see kind of a trend in my own court. And that trend is that I was seeing more and more veterans in my court. And unfortunately, more and more veterans who are not succeeding on regular probation.
Right.
And so I was trying to figure out why that was. I was trying to figure out, I keep seeing them. Is it a military thing? Is it something else thing? What type of thing is this? And I realized, I think it was a military thing. And so I tried to look around. I did look around and tried to find some solutions to what we could do for that. And I found out about this concept called veterans courts. I did not invent the concept. That is not something I invented.
Sure.
But I found out about it. It first started in New York a while back. I'd say maybe 18 years ago or so.
Right.
And I wanted to learn about it. And so I did. And at first I thought to myself, well, I'm not really that type of judge, that whole treatment thing. That's really not how I was brought up. I don't think that's how the system typically works, is treatment-based and mental health-based. And so I needed to learn more about it. And so I did. And learned about this concept of Veterans Court and decided that's exactly what the veterans need that come before me.
Right. Well, and then what exactly did the Veterans Court, what did you find out, what it entailed as far as?
Well, the most important thing that is different than regular probation, that it actually requires treatment. And so the official name of a court like this would be the North Texas Regional Veterans Treatment Court. It's a treatment court.
Right.
And so the basis of it is treatment, not punishment, like we would see in a lot of courts.
Right. Well, so with that, okay, so when you, how does it work? So somebody, do they have to have some type of recidivism to go to that, or is it just hey, I think this is a good fit for you, you're a veteran,
it can be both. They can arrive because it's their first charge, and a lot of time it's their very first charge,
right? And you can get that, and if they go through the program, then it's expunged.
It is, and that's what I think, that's the payoff at the end.
Yeah,
that's right. But when they first get there, they apply to come into court, and like I said, they could either be their first offense. Those offenses generally range from alcohol-related offenses, DWIs, family violence is in there too, drug possession, and things like that. And so that's typically what we see. And so at some point in the system, we try to identify who those veterans are. I will tell you, the veterans who are in addiction a lot of times don't identify as veterans,
right?
Because they're embarrassed by the fact that they have gone this road.
Sure.
And so they will not say it. So if you went up to them and when they came into jail and you ask the questions, "Are you a veteran?" they'll say no.
Right.
Because they're that embarrassment.
Right.
And so we try to educate everybody who has initial contact with them about the Veterans Court. That would include defense attorneys. So if they hire an attorney, that they know about it. That'd be the sheriff's office. We ask every person booked into the jails that I serve, have you ever served in the armed services?
Yeah.
Instead of saying it's a veteran. And sometimes we're finding that they'll answer that question more accurately than the other one.
Right.
And then we have judges that are looking for them, prosecutors that are looking for them. We don't catch them all. But that's how we initially identify who veterans are as they come into the criminal justice system. Once they get there and they want to kick the tires on Veterans Court, then we educate them about it, of course, and then they submit an application.
Right.
And that application requires them to have their discharge papers from the military. We call it the DD-214.
Okay.
And we look at that to see what their service was like, how long their service was, where did they deployed, what decorations they got. What they might be.
What if they were dishonorable discharged?
Okay, we do not serve dishonorably discharged veterans.
Oh,
okay, we serve everybody else. Like
Okay.
there's less than honorable,
Right.
And general under honorable conditions and things like that. But dishonorable discharges, we do not take into the court.
Okay.
Mainly because the VA won't serve a dishonorable discharged veteran.
Ah, okay.
And so
Makes
that
sense.
takes out
Yeah.
that treatment
Sure.
avenue for us. That takes that out of the deal.
Right.
So they come in and they apply for it. And the district attorney's office is the end all and be all of this. If they decide this case is not appropriate for Veterans Court, then there's nothing I can do about it. It's a done deal. But I've been lucky to work with some fantastic DAs throughout North Texas that are committed to Veterans Court, and they let most of them in, at least to the next process.
Right.
The next process is my Veterans Court team, which I'll need to explain to you later. But my
Yeah.
Veterans Court team looks at them and we interview them. We have that veteran come down and sit down and talk to us about why they're there and what issues that they have and how they think we might be able to help them.
Ah, okay. Well, so what, what, as far as, I guess you said you saw a lot of people in the armed forces. What, and then I guess that's the reason why you decided to implicate this. But let's talk about maybe maybe a story like a success story without saying any names.
For sure.
But maybe, somebody that's.
Oh, well, the success really begins with treatment. So I had this Marine veteran come into court, and the reason why he had law enforcement contact is because he had totaled his truck. He was on the side of the road in a ditch with a needle in his arm. And so that's the state he was in when we first encountered him, or law enforcement first encountered him.
Right.
And so I would say this is almost at the very beginning of Veterans Court, about 12 years ago. And this veteran came in and obviously was at his rock bottom, right? And it takes different people, as you all know,
Sure.
What level their rock bottom was. That's pretty damn well rock bottom, I think. And so he came in and he knew he needed help. And so he did the things I mentioned to you before. He applied for the court. And got accepted. Again, that's a pretty serious charge to come into Veterans Court for, but we went ahead and take a chance on them. And so when they come into Veterans Court, they're evaluated by a mental health clinician that actually works for the court.
Okay.
And we try to find out what's going on in their brain housing group to see why they are doing what they're doing. Obviously, it is symptomatic of something deeper. And so that mental health person gets it down deep into that and then starts recommending treatment for them. That treatment can include inpatient treatment, supportive outpatient treatment. It can be equine therapy. It can be art therapy, music therapy, all these different therapies. And so we designed a program just for this particular veteran, and it was inpatient treatment.
Right.
And so at the time, we did not have the Valor program, which we'll talk about later. But so he went to the inpatient facility in, I think it was Bonham at the VA.
Okay.
And began to get treatment. And we began to see the positive changes in them. And you have to get them dry-brained first.
Sure.
I mean, they come in wet-brained, and, that's what probation does to them. They're wet-brained when they walk into probation.
Right.
They said, you need to do this, 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 and this. Well, they're not even open to discovering what the root of their problem are and what treatment means.
We've talked about this before with Chad, and his addiction. I mean, he said, he was in jail for 19 months, and he needed all of that time. in order to actually.
Well, it was 19 months before I finally didn't have a plan to get out and get high.
Right,
You know?
exactly.
Right.
That's all you're waiting for. Get my bond reduced, not to get out and do something, except for go get high.
Yeah.
And that's what I think this guy was doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And so we try to get it. We detox him first, of course, for that very reason.
Yeah.
And it's dangerous. And he started to buy into the program at the VA. He was in the short-term program first, but he decided to stick around for the long-term program.
What is the different times on the long term and the short term?
I don't know. Let's see. Back then, I would say it was probably 3 months for short term, and then probably a total of 6 months for long term.
Okay. All right.
And so he started to do that, and then we got to see what the miracle happens in sobriety. And that miracle is that they start to. That's a weird thing about court. They're in court. And I think a lot of people are like that, and they're going to do what you tell them to do. They're going to check the boxes because only because of the consequence.
Sure.
Because of the consequence. I don't want to go to jail. I don't like jail. It keeps me from, I don't know, doing drugs, drinking, whatever it is. It's keeping me from whatever I want to do, and I'll just do it just to get by with it so I can get back on track the way I was. There's some point in that process, what I call it the light switch, turns on in the process of court, and that's when we start to realize, you can see it. It's different for everybody.
Right.
That we see that they're starting to do it because they want to do it. Right. Not because they have to do it. They see the benefits of sobriety. They see what it's like to wake up in the morning, remember what you did the night before. They see their relationships getting rebuilt. Right. They get that relationship with their kids. Their ex-wife is starting to go, hey, listen, I see a difference in them. Maybe I will let them see the kids more and stuff. And so that we live for that light switch. Right. This veteran hit that light switch. Right. And he began to do things. He enrolled himself into an HVAC training program so he could work on air conditioning units. And you could see the pride in him as he worked through that program. And he graduated from the program. And then he started making some money. And so then he had some more pride in that. And then, of course, like every good veteran who's sober, the first thing they do is go buy a truck. So we knew he was on his way because he had bought himself a brand new F-150 truck, and he was really proud of that truck.
Right? Yeah.
And so he did that, and then the day that comes that we vote as a group, the team, the Veterans Court team voted and said, hey, this guy, I think we've hit maximum improvement with this guy. This guy's going to be hugely successful. Right. And he graduated from the program and has been hugely successful because of it.
And then, so does that, what kind of charges would have gone on his record, like permanent record, and then, running through the program? I mean, can it expunge felonies?
It can. Yep. Okay. It can. So we do not allow people to get their records expunged if we call them 3G offenses. I mean, they're assaultive, aggravated offenses, usually with a weapon. And so we call them 3Gs, but they're aggravated. So if you're use of a weapon or something like that.
Right. What does the G's stand for?
It's the code that it comes from.
Oh, okay.
That's all it is. It's in the criminal code.
All right.
I couldn't even tell you what the other numbers around it are. Right. All I know is 3G.
Right.
And so we won't let that happen. But they can still come into the court. They just don't get that big carrot at the end of an expunction. Right. So we do have people in our Veterans Court with aggravated assault cases and things like that. But this one didn't have it. So he would have been facing possession case, DWI case, because he wrecked his truck in the process. And those were all, and I think he may have had a gun with him, which most veterans do.
Of course.
And so we call that unlawful carrying of a weapon because you're intoxicated at the time. So we call that UCW. So he had a slew of charges that were facing him at the time.
Right. And I know one of the biggest things for veterans is if they ever do end up with those kind of charges, they lose their right to be able to carry weapons.
They do. Absolutely.
And that's like a huge thing.
Huge for
especially for just mental stability and stuff like that. Because they're so programmed
because they're hypersensitive anyway to security and all that stuff, and you take your guns away, and that's bad. In fact, I'll tell you this: if you're in Veterans Court, you don't have weapons. Yeah. And that's a big hookup. I've had people walk away from Veterans Court because they would not give up their weapons temporarily. Yeah. Right. Through the program.
Okay.
Wow. We do that, of course. We do that for safety reasons.
Absolutely.
But that's why they don't. But yeah.
Well, I have a question for you. So, are you familiar with Safe P?
I am familiar with Safe P.
Okay. So how does that vary from from what you have going on?
Okay. Well, it's different. Of course, SafeP,
Okay.
for those who are listening, is a rehabilitation program put on by the Texas Department of Criminal Justice.
And court ordered.
And it's court ordered,
Right.
and it's the penitentiary.
Yeah.
It's the penitentiary's version of rehab.
Sure.
It is about a year long.
Mm-hmm.
It takes you probably at this point in time 4 months to get
there.
Just to get there, and you have to be in jail during that wait time. So you're just sitting there doing nothing.
Sure.
And by the way, if you think your mental health is getting any better during that wait, you would be
Chad,
mistaken.
how was your mental health while
I
you
was
were
waiting
inside?
for SafeP before I got denied for the second time to another TDC program. It was not good, but it was. I'll tell you what, though, it started to get better there at the very end, but it wasn't because of sitting in jail.
Well, it's because
it was
you
because,
finally.
yeah, there was a AA being brought into the thing
There you
on
go.
Zoom, and I went because I had a friend going to the feds for 8 years.
Well, and it would just get you out of the pod.
It was just getting me out of
It
the
could
pod.
get you out of the pod and maybe look good to the judge later.
Yeah,
Right?
You
Yeah,
know, and
exactly
I
right.
did that, and then it ended up being the main focal point in my recovery today.
Oh, that's
which
awesome.
is the irony in that is
Absolutely.
bittersweet. So.
It's funny because.
And so you went to SafeP?
No, I was supposed to go to
Okay.
SafeP, but I waited 6 months to go,
Okay.
and then they denied me. So I waited 6 months originally to go to Wilmer, right? And after 6 months of waiting on Wilmer, they denied me because of a medication that they had given me.
Okay.
Right. So then the judge, instead of letting me go, was like, "Nope, we're going to SafeP instead." And I was like, "Okay, cool, whatever." Right. So then I waited 6 months for that, and then they denied me that as well.
Okay.
So it was just limbo time.
Absolutely.
And I'm sure you know Mr. Crusoe. He's done wonders for my family because he was the main reason that I actually got action and started moving along. And he was able to get me released from jail with a new judge and all that stuff.
Well, he
and
sure is into
dude, he does some amazing
he
work.
does amazing things here in Dallas. We're really lucky to have him. We do that. So SafeP, however, though, is a peer-run system.
Yes.
And so when you go in there, it's the peers who've been there before you who've learned something. By the way, listen, something's better than nothing.
Yeah,
Sure.
I
give you that.
understand
So
that.
I'm not going to knock it very much.
Right.
Because something's better than nothing. I don't think some states even have anything like it. And so I think we're blessed in that regard. But the success rates, as I understand it, are pretty low.
Very low, yeah.
And so you talked about it before. I don't know if people knows what that means, but recidivism rate is how we judge criminal justice programs.
Sure.
And that is the rate in which you're going to be rearrested.
Repeat offender.
Within a 3 to 5 year period of time. So if you look at a person going through SafeP, I believe this recidivism rate's over 44%.
Yeah, which is, I mean,
Pretty
it's
high.
still better than
It's
nothing.
still better than nothing for
Right.
sure. For those,
100%, I agree with
for
you.
those
Well,
56%.
I
that's
wonder
really good.
if they would look at a program that has a higher success rate like yours.
They should.
And then, maybe
They should.
maybe take a couple of moves.
But so the whole idea of yours though is it's in veterans assistance programs.
It
Right,
is.
right. It's like VA funded, and it's the military is involved with like some of these actual benefits that they get from going through the program.
They're
correct?
not. No, you're not correct.
Okay.
That's not correct. Yep. So what happens is, so I want to make sure that we distinguish between what Veterans Court is and what Valor is. And what we're talking about now is the inpatient in custody in jail rehabilitation facility that we have located in McKinney that's open to all Texas veterans.
Okay.
But it is funded only by grants that I apply for through the Texas Veterans Commission and the Office of the Governor. And so those are the ones that fund the Valor program.
Okay.
Wow.
Okay. And so the Valor is completely separate from the Veterans Court.
Sure.
Okay. It's a completely separate program that I run. I send a lot of veterans there.
Right.
My Veterans Court, but you do not have to be in a Veterans Court anywhere in Texas to get there if you're a Texas veterans and you want to avoid the penitentiary.
Right.
If you have a substance abuse problem or a mental health problem, you can come into the Valor program.
Okay. Well, so what I was kind of like thinking was, you said inpatient, right? And I'm not talking necessarily about the Valor one. I'm talking because you mentioned the VA.
Oh, I'm sorry.
And that's
I'm
when I was
sorry.
like,
Oh, I'm
the
sorry.
military.
Yeah.
You work with like military
I do.
sources.
So
in that regard.
I do, and I apologize. I
you're fine.
misunderstood you. So here's the deal. So so I would send people to the VA rehab. Okay. The one we call the Bon-Dom, which is located in North Texas and Bonham, Texas.
Yeah.
We call it the Bon-Dom, and then we have the 5 North, which is the VA's rehab facility here in Dallas.
Okay.
Okay, and so those are the two. I'd send them there, and they're great programs, by the way. And by the
I
way,
have actually heard good things about both of them.
they are very, very good. The only problem with those is they're not locked down.
Yeah.
And they're not located in the best neighborhoods.
Right.
And so if you want to walk across the street and find whatever you're looking for, you will absolutely find
problem.
it.
Yeah.
You will find it for sure. And so I had that happen. I would send these veterans to the VA programs and stuff and had high hopes for them. And they didn't get dry-brained enough for that therapy to sink in. They see an open door and a place to go, and they'd walk across the street, and next thing you know, they're popping hot on drugs while they're in rehab.
Right.
Yeah. And so that is VA funded, 100%. Work closely with them. I still send people to that program and those programs because they have outpatient programs too, and I couldn't do it without the VA. In fact, the VA assigns a Veterans Justice Outreach Coordinator to my court.
Okay.
And so she goes to all my sessions and all that stuff to make sure that our veterans are getting what they need.
Okay. And I'm sure you guys do like a kind of risk, well, for lack of better words, like risk analysis.
Risk assessments, for sure.
For each person.
Absolutely.
That comes through and seeing exactly what because you said you tailor make programs specifically for them.
We do.
Okay.
And so we do. That's a risk assessment deal that we do. And we certainly give them a shot too. We want to do the least restrictive means first.
Yeah.
I mean, if a guy or a gal, by the way, we're talking about females too who served our country. We can't forget about them. They make about 7% of our veterans are female veterans.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But if they're going to succeed in intensive outpatient treatment, let's do that.
Yeah.
Why take them from their jobs and their families and stuff? Why would we do that?
Sure.
If they're going to make it through intensive. But if that doesn't work, then we do inpatient treatment.
Sure. Well, and it seems like it's case by case.
It
and
is
that's
case
where
by
the
case.
whole research of the committee getting
right.
together and doing that. What was it I was going to ask you about? Oh yeah, you said you had mentioned that you function off of grants.
We do.
So I mean, how does that work? Like what? I mean, obviously, do you have a grant writer for that, or how does it work? And I only ask you because I'm a 501c3.
Okay, great.
And I'm interested in how you secure that.
Well, I know how to do that very well.
Okay,
actually.
well, you and I will talk.
And we'll absolutely talk about it.
Right,
I'm happy to help you.
Okay.
But we have grant writers. Collin County has grant writers for all the departments in Collin County. And so we usually identify the grants, and then we go after them from there. So the grant writer kind of writes them. And then my staff really, since we know the programs more, we really refine them. Yeah. And then we submit them. So the Texas Veterans Commission has supported both the North Texas Veterans Court for the last 12 years and the Valor Program for the last 6.
Okay.
And is that like private money flowing in to those grants, or is that government allocated?
No, it's lottery money.
Lottery money.
Yeah,
oh, that's
so
badass.
it's the scratch-offs.
Yeah.
If you go to the scratch-offs, the veteran scratch-offs that you do, those go to the Texas Veterans Commission.
Oh, that's great.
With the most of that money goes to Veterans Court programs or at least veteran programs throughout the state of Texas.
Right.
So if you're going to buy lottery tickets and you want to not lose money just to the state or whatever, you can buy the veteran scratch-off ones.
Well, but they also, I think most of them go to benefit. Most of the scratch-offs go to benefit something in the state, either education or veterans.
Well, they sold us the whole lottery that is going to go to education. I'm not sure.
I don't believe that.
It goes
better
to the
not be going
fund.
to TxDOT, I'll tell you that much.
That's right. So I don't know. That's what they say.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this. I know the veteran scratch-off goes to veterans. That's all.
Well, that's good. That's good.
Cool.
At least something.
Next time I buy a scratch-off, I'll buy one of those.
Absolutely.
Right.
That's what I do for Christmas. I buy everything veterans scratch-offs.
Awesome. Nice.
That's great.
That's great. Hey, well, real quick, let's throw to commercial, and then we can get in more about the Valor program.
Sounds great.
But so your mama has a book out.
Yep. Little Sheila.
That book, we love Little Sheila, and that book is called 2 Calls. And
imagine getting that phone call as a parent that your son has been hit by a car and is being life-flighted.
2 hours before we got the call, Chad had called me to tell me it was the best day of his life. And then I get another call, and a stranger had found him, and they were care flighting him to a trauma unit, and that he would start praying for our family that we needed to hurry.
When you wake up on the operating table and they're like, we're going to cut off both your legs, and then I wake up and then one's gone, the other one's in an external rod system, it's just not good. The real kicker is that I've had all of these scars all over my arms, and that's all from complications resulting from drug abuse.
I never thought about giving up on him. Never. This is my son, and I know he's going to be okay. You cannot just have help for the addict. You have to seek out professional help. The whole family has been affected.
And I just want to make that very clear to anybody who's out there listening, that if I can do this thing as much as I've been through, man, there's a lot of wiggle room for people before they get to that point where they can do it too.
All right, and that book is called Two Calls, and if you go to twocalls.org, they can buy the book, and then also it's at Barnes & Nobles, and then y'all also do speaking engagements.
Yeah, so me and my mom go around and talk to groups and then families and stuff like that are kind of curious to learn what the family recovery kind of thing looks like, and because there are free programs for families to get involved in that can do the same things, because most of the time it's addicts that are offered the help and it's not the families. But there are resources 100% free for people, so we kind of go around and talk about the family dynamic and recovering and all that kind of stuff.
And that's twocalls.org, and they can get a hold of you through that website. And then we also have some new music out. And yo, DJ, pump this party.
Are we gonna do the Depeche Mode?
Play whatever you want, dude.
Let's do that. All right.
All right, and that song is actually out streaming right now. It's a Depeche Mode cover.
Depeche Mode cover.
And it's called Nothing. And actually, if you're on Spotify, you can follow a playlist called This Is Kelly Reverb. And then also be sure and follow This Pink Cloud. Where our podcast is on there as well. Yay.
Yay.
Anyway, so I guess we were going to talk about the Valor Court, but then we were also talking, because you were listening to the commercial about, the importance that you find or you saw in your court for the family members. Of the it's not just the addict.
It's not, and I'll tell you what, we don't really focus on the family much in court. We just don't, and that's sad. We do with Veterans Court and Valor Program, which I can explain to you later. But I have a family experience with addiction, and I think it frustrates families that when we're working with addicts and alcoholics, that the focus is on them and how they recover and their steps and how they get to recover. But the family has to recover too. And I think that's a great thing that you and your mom are doing together. Because I think it's so important.
Well, she had the influence from the great Neil Sperry. I used to listen to him. I used to hate listening to him on the way to church every Sunday morning when my dad would have him on the radio. But like something about that voice was so calming, because he's like the Texas Gardner
you mean
guy.
your mother's
my mother's husband. That's
he's from McKinney.
He is. So I've got to meet him after this whole thing, because they were, my parents got involved with that fellowship because he brought that to them.
That's right.
So I've got to meet him several times. They're great people. They do really great stuff, and like I said, it's free.
Well, that's great, and I'm proud to know that you're doing that with your mom.
That's
great.
And I mean, I think it's, a lot of times people don't even really realize, talking about that aspect, is that, it's their problem.
That's right.
And a lot of people don't even see, hey, maybe you need to know X, Y, Z so you can know how to handle that person and their problem.
That's
right.
You
know what I mean?
Well, I go to AA meetings sometimes too, and you go there and listen to stories, and everybody's laughing. All the alcoholics are laughing. The family's not laughing so much. And because they're like, wait a second, I remember that, and that wasn't funny at all. If you had to take care of that person. So, So that's awesome.
Right. Well, okay, so let's talk about a little bit more about the Valor program and what that entails.
So like I was explaining to y'all before, is that I would send some of these veterans to these VA rehabs. And again, fantastic rehabs, but they're open. They have open doors. You can walk in and walk out whenever you want. And then so here's the choice as a judge. So you have somebody who goes to a rehab. They go across the street and use drugs. They're looking at a motion to revoke. Yeah, they're going to revoke your. So my choice is I continue on probation where they're not doing well, and they're going to now infect my veterans court because we're all there as a team,
Right.
And so they're looking. Wait a second, if I can just relapse and keep coming back, that's worth it.
Yeah.
That's worth a couple days in jail.
Well, and a lot of people bed hop. So,
They do,
yeah.
And so I was like, okay, well, I don't want to. They haven't got dry brained enough,
Right.
for me to do any good. Where's a lockdown place? Mm-hmm. And I'm telling you, there's not any. There's just not any lockdown places for anybody, much less vets. And so I was like, this is not good. So I'm going to do something about this. This is not good. So we had a program in Collin County called SCORE program, program, and it's for youthful offenders program, and it's run by our probation department. And there are about 45 beds available for youthful offenders. And so about 8 years ago, I called up and said, I want 5 beds for veterans. I just need 5 beds for veterans. Will you give me that?
Right.
And they said, sure, we'll give you 5 beds for veterans.
Yeah.
And then I realized, well, wait a second. The programming for a civilian youthful offender is not the same programming that you have to have.
God, no.
For you just think about that for a second.
Sure.
You put let's take an anger management class.
Yeah.
And you put a youthful offender in there who's really mad at their parents because they didn't buy them that new car on their 16th birthday. Well, that's not the same anger that veterans coming into the room.
Right.
For.
Yep.
And so they cannot relate. And matter of fact, I think it makes them even more angry.
Oh, yeah.
To listen to the snotty-nosed kid who's in there complaining about his hard life when they have no idea.
Right.
Yeah.
And so I realized the programming needed to be changed. And so I went to the Texas Veterans Commission on a hope and a prayer that they'd give me the funds on a program that does not exist in the United States. Nothing like it existed. Nothing.
Okay.
And so I said, hey, give me some seed money. I need to hire a therapist that's that is specific to veterans.
Yes.
And so they gave me the money to do it.
Oh,
and
wow.
so I started that 6 years ago.
Right.
Again, it's open to Texas veterans. It is a full rehab program and work program. And so these veterans wake up at 4:30 every morning. And they go on a work crew with the sheriff's office. And that work crew does things like clean up cemeteries, abandoned cemeteries.
Kind of like a chain gang.
It is a chain gang deal.
Yeah.
If there's a tornado in town and there's trees in the streets, they get chainsaws and cut up those trees.
Right.
And they work. Now think about that as a work program. That helps our community, of course, but it also helps that veteran. It's pride.
Yeah.
They get up to have
absolutely.
pride. They get up with a purpose every day. They're not
Right.
working up trying to figure out where their next hit's going to come from.
Right.
They're working up going, hey, I'm going to go and do something productive and see. I'm helping communities. I'm helping animals at the animal shelter, whatever it is.
Right.
That's prideful. But then after lunch, when they get back, that's where the real work begins.
Okay.
And they go through 18 different group classes throughout the week.
Okay.
They each, now this is amazing to me, is that everybody gets individual counseling once a week while they are there
Oh,
the
okay.
entire time. And
Yeah.
that counseling includes an EMDR
Oh,
counseling,
wow.
which is a specialized.
Which is massive for veterans. I'm
massive for
Yeah.
veterans,
Yeah.
massive for veterans.
Right.
And so just think about that. You're in jail and you're getting
EMDR.
the EMDR
Yeah.
and individual counseling. And so when you compare that to Safe P, now you can see there's the difference, right?
Right.
Absolutely.
There's
Yeah.
the difference. And
So
then
I have a question.
Sure,
Is
go
your
ahead.
therapy that they're doing, is it licensed chemical dependency or is it licensed
No,
professional
licensed
therapist?
professional therapist.
That's
I mean,
exactly
we
what I wanted
talk about
to know.
clinicians. So we have both
Yep.
licensed professional counselors and licensed clinical social workers.
Oh, okay, cool.
Both of them. We have a clinical director.
So they're able to treat the root causes.
We are, and we have 4 full-time members on the staff that are all licensed, and all of them currently are all veterans.
Oh, wow.
Too, which those are unicorns.
Yeah.
Those are
Absolutely,
unicorns to
man.
find. And then I'm going to tell you this: and we're really, really excited about this, and this has never happened. Of course, my program is not anything like it in the United States at all. We just unveiled in October on property and equine therapy program.
Oh, wow.
Oh, there you go.
And apparently, there's a lot of like benefits with doing that with veterans specifically.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Can I tell you something? So we're at our infancy. And so me and the sheriff of Collin County, his name is Jim Skinner, and he's a veteran too. He's an Air Force veteran. And he's been with me the whole time during the whole Valor program. And then I came to him, I said, hey, listen, good isn't good enough. So what more can we do? I keep reading all these studies about veterans, but these veterans who need it are in jail. How do I get that done?
Right.
And he goes, well, why don't we just bring it here?
Right.
And I didn't know this at the time, but he's a horseman. He grew up
Yeah.
around horses. He saw the benefits just of being around horses, a hard day's work on the ranch and stuff like that. And so he goes, hey, listen, I want to do that. And so we worked together to start the program. And so he contacted a cowboy by the name of Pat Puckett.
Okay.
Pat Puckett's a big cowboy.
That sounds like a cowboy name.
It does sound like a cowboy.
Yeah.
And by the way, you meet the guy. He's a typical cowboy.
Right.
And he has a great story. But so the sheriff been following him on his YouTube channel because he does YouTube videos about how to take care of horses.
Ah.
And so out of the blue, he sent an email to Pat Puckett and says, hey, listen, we're thinking about starting this veterans equine therapy program for these guys who are in custody. And he goes, I'm there.
Right.
And so I didn't know this, but the deal with Pat Puckett was he's a Vietnam vet. He was a combat medic in Vietnam, and he had been suffering for years.
Now that's a fun job.
So, that's right. You
I
talk
know,
about
just like,
PTSD.
Yeah, dude.
Holy moly.
Yeah.
But you know, he is 75 years old, and
Right.
for 50 years, he never looked another veteran in the eye.
Wow.
He wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
He didn't want to hear your story.
Yeah.
He didn't want to tell his story.
Yeah.
He didn't want to have nothing to do
I
with
just
a
want
veteran.
to press it down.
Yep. He see a veteran in the airport
Didn't happen.
with the Vietnam veteran cap on, Desert Storm cap,
Yeah.
or whatever, walks the other way. I'm not talking to him.
Right.
I got nothing to say to him.
Yeah.
Right.
And so he signed up to join us to do this. He comes out for a week. He came out a week in October. He just left Saturday for our second program. And he has made a difference in these veterans' lives by the horsemanship that he's doing with them. They have connected with an animal like they haven't been able to connect with anybody before. They've learned to self-regulate, because in order to work with those horses, you have to learn how to self-regulate, or those horses will have nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, I have seen in those short periods of time with that equine therapy changes that I never thought I would see as quickly as I have in the veterans.
That's amazing.
But what's been fascinating, though,
Yeah.
is the difference is made to Pat Puckett.
Yeah.
I bet.
He has a new passion in life.
Yeah.
It's a new passion in life to help a fellow veteran, and he is committed to it.
Yeah.
And so now he's coming every quarter,
Uh-huh.
and in between we've hired a horse equine therapist,
Cool.
licensed,
Yeah.
licensed professional counselor who happens to be a veteran.
Oh,
Right.
wow.
Now you talk about a unicorn.
Right.
We found that unicorn.
It's literally a
Right.
It's literally a unicorn. That was my dream when I started this whole thing, is to find that unicorn. We found her.
Right.
She's amazing, and she's going to start working with the veterans the first week of January. And so in between Mr. Puckett coming, she's going to be doing group counseling and individual counseling and EAMDR with a horse. I didn't know there was such a thing.
Yeah, they do all sorts of different work.
Yeah, I had no idea.
We learned about Reiki the other day
Reiki,
with
yeah.
horses
Right.
and
Yep.
stuff like that.
Right.
So we're
Yeah.
doing that for veterans who had one foot in the penitentiary.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
And we had hope for them now, and they have hope. And
Right.
It's just amazing to watch.
Well, so I have a question for
Sure.
you. Is there any, because I mean, this started here. So is there any plans for trying to roll it out nationally?
100%.
Well, let's hear it.
We're just trying to lock it down to it's the best.
Well,
Valor,
how long has the Valor program been?
6 years. The
6
Valor
years.
program.
Okay.
Yep.
So then you should have some pretty good
Statistics.
concrete statistics.
We
Yeah.
do, and again, unlike any other facility like it in the country, we use this system called Track 9. That's a mental health evaluation tool that we use, and we give a mental health evaluation to every veteran, whether it's Veterans Court or in Valor, mental health assessment every week. And it helps us track them on graphs and stuff like that, and so our therapists can pivot to their individual needs on a week-by-week basis.
Right.
And so we're now starting to be able to track the benefits of equine therapy on an objective scale to see how that's impacting their recovery.
Right.
And I think you're going to see the scores off the charts towards the positive.
Right.
That's awesome.
And so to answer your question, of course we want to roll this out.
Yeah.
We want to roll it out to
I just
everybody.
didn't know if you had plans.
We
and
do.
You were,
The Valor program already has been recognized by the U.S. Department of Justice as a center of innovation for veterans programming, but they don't know, they haven't been updated on all the equine stuff we're doing. So we're excited.
Right.
But here's the thing, and I think it really matters probably to your group too. You go, okay, well, why can't we give just a civilian this?
right.
Why can't this be for everybody?
Right.
And that's a great point. The money's hard to get for people. I mean, if you went to an employer and you said, hey, I want you to sponsor a program for drug addicts,
Right.
that's a hard sell.
Right.
That's a harder sell.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, there's a handful
Yeah.
of choices here in like Dallas. I honestly think there's better resources up north where you guys live.
Collin County.
Yeah.
Well, it just depends on like your financial
It does.
situation.
It
100%. Because there's nothing in Collin County other than LifePath, which is
That's right.
completely outpatient.
Yeah,
unless
that's
they
right.
refer you to an inpatient.
Yeah, but
if you
then
don't
we
the
have,
financial
but we
assistance.
have like what MetroCare here in
in
Dallas.
Dallas, yep.
And I've
It's about the
heard
same.
I've heard
Any state funded program should be about the same.
And then I've heard LifePath. I've heard great things.
Yeah.
Now the MetroCare, I've heard indifferent things.
Well, when it comes to that kind of stuff, you also look at the population. There's a lot more tough crime that happens in a bigger
Dallas.
city than there would be in like a suburb type area. But the interesting, I don't know, man. Like you say, it's like it's hard to get funding and all that kind of stuff, and then you hear the kind of money that we're spending on all sorts of other absurd things in the United States today.
But here's my deal, and I take this responsibility seriously. And what I mean by that is, I'm going to show you, because I go to a corporation and say, I want to do this program. I want to do an equine therapy program for vets, and people go, well, I'll sign up. Where do I sign up?
Yeah,
I'll do that. I'll write you a check. What you need, and they'll do it. And so I take that responsibility, and what we're going to do is we're going to make this the best of the best, and we're going to show the objective findings we do through these mental health assessments. It's not just your typical government deal, up and down. It's great, whatever. It's actually objective data, and they're going to take it and they go, so why can't we start it in other populations?
Yep.
Because now you're seeing now we can pinpoint the financial benefit of the programs. Why can't we take it to other populations?
And that's fantastic. It all sounds fantastic, right? And the more data you have, the easier it is to kind of get things pushed through. But like logistically speaking, when it comes to doing anything through the government, how there's meetings, and then they have to have a meeting about how the first meeting didn't go right. So it's years and years and years. So then you're still, how do you stay on the leading edge of that?
You just keep plugging along. You just have to. Otherwise you say, okay, we're not going to do it. Well, then 5 years from now, you're going to start it. Start it today.
Yeah.
We're starting to collect the data today. You eat an elephant one bite at a time. So it takes one bite to start it, and we do that. So we're just going to take a bite out of this elephant, really help vets, because that's my priority. I'm telling you, that's my priority. But I do think there is a benefit in the things that we're doing to the civilian population, what we're doing now.
Have you started like maybe some sort of petition or something that maybe people can sign that would be, beneficial to trying to get this thing pushed out to the masses?
No, we haven't yet, but I will tell you that I'm working really, really hard. Matter of fact, I probably made 4 phone calls on the way down from McKinney to here today to legislators and their staff. We are working desperately, and I think we are pretty confident that we're going to have state funding to fund a permanent state funding to fund the Valor program.
That would be
fantastic. So then now the masses are looking at you, right?
Yeah.
They're looking at you now. Now the state legislators are going, wait, what are they doing? What's the recidivism rate of this program as compared to Safe B?
Absolutely.
Why is it different? Well, I'll tell you why it's different, because it's clinicians, it's equine therapy, it's all that stuff. So why aren't we doing this statewide in other populations? And I think it's just going to take a little bit at a time, but you just can't give up.
Do you have some of those numbers? Like, ballpark. I'm not meaning to like put you on the spot or anything, but like, would you say, just, ballpark average, what type of success rate are you seeing with the equine therapy?
Okay, with the equine therapy, I don't know. I've just been looking at
because that just started.
It just started, and so I looked at a guy's numbers the other day who went to the first round in October, and all of his symptoms for PTSD, anxiety, and depression have gone down. Significantly down, almost non-clinically recognized at that point in time. And the other indicators like positivity, commitment to sobriety, and all that stuff have gone significantly, sharply up. And so we're just going to keep compiling that data.
Sure.
Now you talk about data, though. If you look at a veterans court program, we're back to veterans court.
Yep.
Yeah.
And if you look at a recidivism rate in a court of a guy who goes on straight probation, the recidivism rate for probation is 50%.
Yeah.
Right.
Anywhere between 40 and 50%.
Sure.
The recidivism rate for a person who graduated from veterans court is between 9 and 12%.
So that's like,
right.
That obviously puts it to shit.
Absolutely, absolutely, it does. Now, I always caution people. That's great, and I get applause every time I go and speak about this deal about the 9 and 12%. That's awesome, except for one thing: the 9 and 12%. That's still 1 in 10.
Yeah, right.
That's still 1 in 10
Right.
And so let's don't forget that. We can't just treat people as numbers.
Right.
That number represents people.
Yeah.
And families, like we talked about before.
Right.
And we can't forget that.
Yeah.
Okay, so whenever they graduate, like the either the Valor or the Veterans Court program, what does do you guys have like aftercare planning? Because like, yeah, you can do great, check all sorts of boxes, feel better, all that stuff. But like, I work in addiction treatment, and it doesn't matter so much necessarily. Like, it's great to do all this work and stuff like that when they're in some sort of risk if they don't do what you're saying, right? When there's some sort of consequence to it, no matter how big it may be. But like, the real work happens once they step foot out the door. That's right. So what do you guys do, aftercare kind of stuff, or do you keep up with them? Or?
We do. We try to. It's very difficult.
Yeah.
It's very difficult because let's do Veterans Court first, and then we'll move over to Valor. Veterans Court deal, once they're out of the system, I really don't have any control over them anymore.
Absolutely.
They don't have to call me anymore. They don't have to do anything. They don't have to respond to my emails. They don't have to do that. But we do offer we call it Warrior Aftercare.
Yes.
And so we do, I think it's twice a week, we do a Zoom call for anybody who wants to jump on a Warrior Aftercare. And so that's all we can do there. Now, on the Valor program, realize that everybody in the Valor program is on probation.
Yes.
And so their term and condition of probation is the successful completion of Valor. And so when they leave, we have an aftercare program that we convey to their home court, their home county, right? Because they're from all over the state. And so our case managers work with their home counties and stuff to have a plan in place. When's their first VA appointment? Where are they going to live?
Yes.
Where's the car? What jobs? What second chance employers are available in that county for them and stuff? And so we try to have a rock solid plan with them, and we're at an advantage there because they're still on probation.
Yeah.
If they screw that up, they can still go to the penitentiary.
Yeah.
After all that, and so that's what we're working on. But I think we need to work a lot harder. I don't know about if we work a lot harder, but we'd like to have a more robust aftercare program in both programs.
And like aftercare, as important as it is, like it is very much. It's a coin toss.
It is.
It's a 100% a coin toss because like nobody's there to rally the troops to go in. Well, ironic. I didn't mean to say that. Nobody's there to kind of get them going to do this thing.
It works if you work it, but if you don't work it, it doesn't work.
Absolutely,
as y'all say, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's as the big book people say.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
That's right.
Well, cool. And all I had written down was I think we were going to talk about maybe the parts of the court.
The parts. Okay, so yeah, we can talk about that. You mean the Veterans Court?
Yeah.
So typically when I go into a court, it's just me. I did it this morning. I've sent people to the penitentiary today, right? And so what happens is people come in and they give me your case, you give me your case, I make a decision, or they do a plea. I'm the face of the court, and they're gone, and they're gone.
Right.
Veterans Court's completely different. It's a team, so it's the part of the court, okay? And so on my team, in each county, and I'll explain that to you in just a second. In each county, I have a DA on the team. I have a defense attorney on the team. I have that veteran justice outreach coordinator from the VA is on my team.
Yep.
A probation officer on my team. A representative from the prosecutor's office. I'm sorry, from the sheriff's office is on my team. Then I have case managers that work directly for me, a program manager that works directly for me, and a mental health professional, licensed professional that works for me on the court. And so when I go in there and we brief on all these veterans on a day-to-day basis, before we go to court, I get an update from all those people, and it's really a team approach. It's a treatment team approach.
It would have to be, yeah.
It has to be, and we like it. That's more eyes on them. That's more ideas. That's more resources that are available to them. And so that's kind of the parts of the court. But one of the things that makes us unique up here in North Texas is that I started the Collin County Veterans Court about 12 years ago, as I mentioned. And then I got a call from Rockwall County. And they said, hey, Judge, I want you to come there and just kind of educate us on it. We'd love to start one in Rockwall County.
Right.
So I drove down to Rockwall County, and because in order to get a Veterans Court started, you have to have the permission of the DA. The Commissioner's Court has to approve that you're part of a Veterans Court. It takes a lot of internal governmental moving around, which, like you talked about, it's sometimes difficult. But Rockwall called me up, and so all the players, the stakeholders were there in a room, and I gave them my song and dance show about the Veterans Court and my 9 to 12% recidivism rate, and why wouldn't you have a Veterans Court in Rockwall County?
Absolutely.
They resoundingly agreed, and then their last question before I walked out of the room is, when can you start? Me as the judge.
Yeah.
And I'm like, wait a second, I'm a Collin County judge. I'm a state judge, so I can be a judge anywhere in the state. So they said, hey, why can't you come down and run our Veterans Court? And I thought to myself, well, I got one Friday a month. I'll just drive down to Rockwall.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to turn down a veteran.
Yeah.
If this is what it's going to take to help a veteran, that's it.
Right.
Well, I did mention I was a Marine.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
Not the smartest guy in the room, typically they say, or like to tease us about.
Right.
So Grayson County approached me to do the same thing.
Uh-huh.
And I'm now the Grayson County Veteran Court Judge. Fannin County's done the same thing. I'm the Fannin County Veterans Court Judge. And then Kaufman County is it. So I run the first regional veterans court in the country.
All right.
The largest regional veterans court in the country, right here in North Texas.
I was gonna say,
awesome.
I was gonna say, how long before you start outsourcing?
I'm tired.
Yeah.
I'm tired, but hey, listen, it's the passion.
Yeah.
I'm telling you, I had a letter from a girl today from Valor, and she wrote me a letter and handed it to me on Saturday night, their last night of the last equine therapy program, and it said in big cap letters, "Judge Roach, you saved my life."
Wow.
And I just sat down in my chair and I just thought about it for just a second and go, and that's why I do it.
Right.
I'm not stopping.
Sure.
I'm not going to stop it. I'm going to keep growing it and pushing it. Now I want other people to take it and implement it
and take it and run with it.
run
Yeah.
with it too, and I'll
Sure.
teach them how to do it for free. I mean,
Yeah.
they're nothing. I just want to help vets.
Right.
And so we're going to keep helping vets.
That's
That's
awesome.
what we're going to do.
Well, that's awesome. Yeah, and I appreciate what you're doing for the veterans, even though I'm not a vet, but anybody that's dedicated to, actually trying to find a solution for the problem of substance use
Absolutely.
disorder
That's exactly right.
is great. And
Everybody deserves a second chance.
I agree.
100%. Everybody deserves it. They absolutely deserve it.
Right.
They're worth it. They're
except,
worth every moment.
except for Chad.
Okay, we just met. I'm kind of on the fence with Chad.
Yeah.
But that's true. But then you take it to the next level is
Right.
veterans,
Sure.
who've really sacrificed everything, and,
Yep.
the condition they find themselves in is most of the time in direct response to their
Right.
experience in the military.
Yeah.
And so we owe it to them.
Right.
We owe it to them.
Absolutely.
They were willing to put their whole life on the line for us.
Well-
We got to do something for them.
Well, so if there is a random county in Texas, and they want to implicate this program, how do they get a hold of you?
You just call me at my court. I'm in the 296 District Court in Collin County, and they can look me up on the website and
Right.
give me a call, and I will stop what I'm doing,
Uh-huh.
like I always do, to answer any questions. And matter of fact, I do that for people from out of state.
Right.
I had a federal prosecutor call me today from Texas. He says, "We want to start a veterans court on the federal level. How do I do it?"
Right.
I'm going to stop what I'm doing. I'm going to help.
Sure.
So-
yeah, that's great, man.
That's
And
awesome.
I hope it does take off on a federal level.
I do too.
Yeah.
Because those guys again need it too. Just because
yeah.
they got charged by the Fed shouldn't make any difference. If
Yeah.
we're trying to help a veteran.
Well, and
agree.
you would think that most of those things, the reason they become federal is because of having a gun with
They have
whatever
guns
drugs.
or-
That's the majority
Uh-huh.
of it.
That's right.
Yeah.
It's just a higher level. crime.
Absolutely.
That's right.
All right.
So, and I think that all of this is amazing, but like looking at statistics and things like that, this could be like the beginning of like I don't know, you could try and reform the entire treatment industry as it comes to like criminal justice departments, because that would, you want to start solving the problem instead of pointing fingers.
You
That's a
do,
great
and
way
what
to
we're
start
doing is
it.
not working.
No, it's
Well,
not.
when we're looking at 50% recidivism rate on a guy who went through probation, I don't know what the recidivism rate is. Someone coming out of prison, but I bet it's not high.
Oh, it is. It's
It's
higher
really
than
high.
that.
I mean, really
it's
high.
higher than 50%.
Yeah.
I wonder how
What are we
the
doing?
Dallas drug court is, like the recidivism rate
So a drug court is just like a veterans court, right?
Yeah,
But it is
sure.
open to civilians. So those are awesome. And we
Right.
call those drug courts, and we have DWI courts and
Right.
things like that. Awesome. I would guarantee you, or pretty much guarantee, it's better than regular probation.
Yeah.
Probably not as good as veterans court.
Right.
Only really because we have more resources.
Well, yeah.
Absolutely.
That
And two, our clientele is more compliant.
yeah.
Yeah.
True.
Our clientele is a little bit more
Used to
compliant. They're
taking
used to taking
orders,
orders, so
yeah,
it's
yeah.
a little bit more compliant. You
Sure.
can't forget about that too.
That makes sense.
That makes sense.
Well, I appreciate you, coming on, and I guess we're gonna have down the road, we're gonna have some of your success cases on.
We are.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I'm
that'll be
excited
awesome.
about that.
I have
yeah.
a couple people that who are in recovery now as a result of these programs who would love to come and talk to you about it.
Right.
Like the woman that sent me the letter today.
Yeah, and then maybe we can have some footage from Pat. What is this?
Pat Puckett. Pat Puckett.
Pat Puckett.
We have
yeah.
footage. We have footage for you.
Oh, nice.
If you want it, we'll get it to you.
Yeah, nice. Well,
sure.
next time you're on the show, we'll have you back, and we'll show all the good stuff that's going on.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
I appreciate it. I really appreciate what you're doing for the sobriety community.
Right.
And I hope that we can reach more veterans during this process as well. So thanks.
Well,
for the
yeah,
time.
no, and I love that, and I love that, because I was always kind of wanting to get more, veterans involved.
Sure.
in this show, but I just never really had the connect.
Well, they don't reach out.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. They don't reach out. And why does it take getting arrested and go to veterans court before we give them help?
Right. And then a lot of people that are in recovery aren't like, yeah, I'm in the Army, you know,
Right,
like,
they don't.
they're not. Yeah. So, but I'm glad that it's out there and that you're seeing some good results.
We are.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thanks again for coming on.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
I appreciate it, Chadwick.
Yep.
Smooth day.
Yeah, it was actually smooth.
We were actually done on time somewhat.
Yeah, I actually need to just be an hour early every time we do this so I can make sure everything works.
So it's working. And then I think we might have the next episode might be Frank Parisi.
Yeah.
But don't quote me on that.
I'm going to quote you on that.
But maybe.
Everybody quote him on that in the comments.
There you go. Anyway, I appreciate y'all tuning in. Be sure to like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And remember, kids, there is no magic pill for sobriety, because if there was, we would all take too many.